The reason George Orwell made his Ministry of Truth and Ministry of Love, where the Ministry of Love hates you and the Ministry of Truth does all lying, is because just at the time he's writing the book, the War Office has changed its name to the Ministry of Defence. So it's obviously a kind of ironic comment on that.
It was Bernays' idea, right? Edward Bernays.
Is it?
The social engineer in America.
Oh, the advertising man.
He's the nephew of Freud.
Yeah, yeah. Was that his idea? The Ministry of Defence?
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
He's the guy who, when he was younger, he was working for he was hired by a piano company, and he decided that the best way to get people to buy pianos, I mean, he'd heard about lots of people having music rooms among the posh people, was that he would do an article about lots of people having music rooms. And he created an atmosphere where people thought, oh yeah, I should have a music room in that big house, but I've got to fill it with something. And then they come to the notion of filling it with the big instrument, the piano, all on their own, and it's all their idea, and it's nothing to do with him. And so he plants this idea in all the newspapers and the articles, and that's what he creates, the atmosphere where people make the decision themselves, which is basically he's the blueprint for the consumer society, and you can see his work in the 2020s, can't you? Creating the atmosphere where people come to the conclusion all on their own that they should.
That's something I've
take part in a medical experiment.
Yeah, that's something that's been on the periphery of my awareness, but you just put a piece into place there. But I was aware of this for some time, but not really sure why. Like, suddenly everybody's saying the same stock phrase to you. I think the first time...
And anything that isn't that stock phrase is problematic. That's the word that...
Well,
when my mum starts using the word problematic, I'm like, come on, you've never said that word before.
Yeah, exactly. With regards to accusing your enemy of what you're about to do. For example, when I'm having a row with crackhead Tony downstairs and he says, you tried to break into my flat. I got back to my flat and I've seen signs that you're breaking in. So you know I'm not breaking into your flat. You've got a crackhead flat with one TV. You see my flat. I've got decks, I've got turntables, I've got £1,000s worth of music equipment. What that means is you're thinking of breaking into my flat. I mean, I have to tell him that straight.
It's very Machiavellian. You attack your enemy where they're strong and you are weak. And so they are granny killers. They are paying GPs £30 to go to disabled people's homes and jab them up. I'm not £15 a shot.
Well, yeah, Midazolam and this.
I'm twice as much Midazolam as
getting people onto this end of life pathway, and then right at the beginning, when you're putting up the tents that never fill up, they're getting okay. All the nurses got to get together, and we're going to have a pandemic. People are going to be dying left, right, and centre. So we're going to have to, unfortunately, decide who to save and who not to save. And this is the Medical Ethics Committee. Is there? Now telling the people that, yeah, we're basically going to be killing the unemployed, the old, the disabled, the financially useless. And that's then just immediately a fascist eugenics plan right there and then. But everyone's panicked into it, and they're off doing it. They're off doing it. Emergency legislation. I didn't quite understand the Machiavelli point you made, but I think what my version of the same thing is accusing other people of what you are doing or about to do. And I noticed this with crackhead Tony downstairs. I noticed this on a very small level scale as well as big government scale. But they're accusing you of being granny killers, and then they're literally running off and killing grannies behind your back. You know, you get someone in hospital and send them back to the old people's home, as if you're trying to get the old people's homes infected. Anyway, accusing your enemy of what you're doing.
Yes.
So is that how the Daily Telegraph is kind of similar to crackhead Tony downstairs? Because just before this war starts, the last headline I see from the Daily Telegraph says, Britain sends troops to Ukraine to counter Russian aggression. Because the war's not started yet, and you think, how is that not British aggression? How are British troops going to Russia's border? Because I'm immediately, as soon as I hear this attempt to moralise an argument, I'm just going to look straight for the counter there now at this point, because I'm so familiar with it. And it is, isn't it? British troops are being sent to Russia's border. This is British aggression before the war.
Mm-hmm.